Hello, everyone. My name is Kafaya. I'm a community learning specialist with Do Space, and I will be facilitating today's session of Do Space After School Coded. I'm excited to be with you guys today, and I hope that everyone is as excited as I am to learn something new today. So, for today's session, we have Scratch programming planned. And Scratch, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but Scratch is a block based visual programming language and website that is targeted primarily to help children learn how to code. So users can create projects. And the fun thing about Scratch is once you create an account and store all of your projects, you're able to share them with your friends and your family. And you guys can build games off of each other's games and just have fun using the block interface. So if you don't have an account, the first step is to go on to scratch.mit.edu. I would put the link to that in the chat box, and you can go ahead and click on that link and it'll take you right to a website that looks something like this. So I'll go ahead and put that in the chat, like I said, and give you guys a few minutes in case if you don't have an account, just so that you can create one. And if you do have an account, this is a good time to log in. I hope you still remember your password. Don't tell anyone what your password is, though. So let's take a few seconds, minutes to log in or create an account, and we can get started. Awesome. So the first step to creating a new game on Scratch is to go on to, first, before I'm talking too fast, I'm going ahead of myself. So the game that I have planned for us today is the ball bounce game. It's a beginner level game that builds on your creativity. The fun part of this game is there'll be parts where you get to choose a wallpaper of your choice or the sprite, the kind of ball that you want to use for your ball bounce game. It lets you explore and just do things on your own terms. So the objective of this game is to click on the ball as many times as you can to score points. So we're going to learn how to add points in a game. And like when you click on something, your points go up. And you get to decide if you want your points to be 1 point or 10 points. It's your choice. But while the ball moves from location to location, we try to click on the ball as many times on the screen continuously. And once you have reached a score of 10, I chose 10 because 10 is pretty easy and very attainable. But I'm sure you guys were up for a challenge and you can make your highest score 100. It is definitely your choice. It's like I said, it builds on your creativity and you're allowed to explore as much as you want. So let's get started. So the first thing I want you to do is at the top right here, right next to the big Scratch logo, you would see a something you can click on that says create, and that's where I want you to click on right now because that's where we're going to start building our game. And after you do that, it'll bring you to a page that the top of the page looks somewhat like this. And what I want you to do is go right there where it says Untitled. We want to make sure to build our game. So for reference purposes, I know you guys are going to go on to build hundreds and hundreds of games on Scratch, but I want to make sure that you have a name for this game just for easy reference in case you want to come back to check on something that you maybe forgot or something that you want to improve on. So we're going to go ahead and name our game Ball Bounce. And let me stop sharing this and I'll go ahead and show you actually right here. So you don't need this introductory video. We're going to X out of that. And right here, just like I said, we're going to change this to Ball Bounce, so that you can always come back to the ball bounce game whenever it is that you want to. So let's get started with building our game. Once again, let me know if you have any questions or comments, or if something isn't working right for you. I'm happy to help you. So just let me know in the chat box. I'm paying close attention to it so I can catch your question once you throw it. Cool. So we're going to head to log on to our accounts on the scratch.mit.edu website. And now we also went on to give our game a name. So that way, even if we don't finish all the things that we want to apply to our game for today, we can always come back and complete our game. That's the amazing thing about making sure that you name your game and that it is saved in your own account so you can always come back. So the first thing that we need to do is, as much as we love our little cat, we don't need our cat for our ball bounce game, not unless you choose to make your cat a ball. But for now, we're going to say bye-bye to the cat. And that's it. It's gone. Just delete. And the next step would be to choose a backdrop. So if you see in the bottom right corner of your page, you have the option to choose a backdrop. There's one that looks like a cat. That's for choosing our sprite. And the one next to that, that's the background. So a backdrop. So I'm going to click on that one and it'll give me a variety of backdrop options. But the one that I want to use for this game, that I want to use, you can go ahead and choose whichever one works for you. I want to use the light background. So I would just click on this backdrop and you can see it automatically applies to this corner. So does anyone have an idea what the next thing we're going to do is? Let me see. Okay, so yes, we're going to go ahead and pick our sprite. Just like I said, just from from the title of this game called Ball Bounce. So of course we do need a ball to bounce for the game to actually happen. So I'm going to go ahead and select this ball right here. Very easy, the same way we chose our backdrop. You have a variety of options of things that you can use, different sprites. But for this game, I'm just going to keep it simple and go straight for the first ball that I see. So B-A-L-L. Another thing you can do if your sprite is maybe hard to find, you could just search right here in the search bar for ball, and it brings you close to everything that has a ball in here. As you can see, there's a soccer ball, there's a tennis ball, there's a beach ball, there's a balloon, there's a baseball, there's a basketball. But I want just plain old simple ball. I'm gonna go ahead and click on that. And now we can go on to the fun part of dealing with our code, right? So as you can see, in the top left corner, right under the Scratch logo, there's 3 different labels. There's one for code, there's another for costumes, and there's a third one for sounds. The one we want to focus on right now is our label or our tab for code. Okay, so now the first step, the first block of code that we need for this is to go into the events tab. That's the yellow tab. And if you click on that, it brings you all of the list of blocks of code in the events tab. And now we're going to click on when the green flag is clicked. I'm going to click, drag, click to select, drag, and place it in my workspace. Is that good? Is everyone following along? Awesome. Don't forget to let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to help you. Awesome. So like I said, the idea of this game is to click on the ball as many times as we want, and for something to happen every time that we click on the ball. And what we want to happen every time we click on the ball is that the score goes up by any amount of your choice. So to make that happen, we need to go declare a variable. We need to put a tag to it so that it can count, so that something can either increase or decrease. We need something to happen. And to make that happen, we need to declare the variable. And now I'm going to go right here in the tab that says variables. And I want to make my own variable right here. So I would click on make a variable, and you would have a screen pop up that would ask for the name of your variable. And now I'm going to name my variable score. So this variable is going to serve as the bag that collects everything, all the scores, basically. This would count. So just name it score and click on OK. And now you can see. So our next step after we have named our score is to go here where it says the block of code that says set my variable to 0. We want to make sure that we use the drop-down menu to select the variable that we named, which is score. And so I'm selecting score right here. So I would click, drag, and place it right here. What this does is that it refreshes our game every time, because you don't want someone to just come pick up your game from where you stopped. So we would attach this to the when the green flag is clicked and you set score to 0. So every time that I click on this, because we don't have any scores, it's not reflecting now. But once we start playing the game and we add the code that increases the score every time we click on the ball, this would come in very handy. So I'm just going to put this to the side and we would go on. Also, this is what your workspace should look like right now. When the green flag is clicked, set score to 0. Is everyone here with me? Okay, let's give us a few seconds so everyone can catch up. Awesome. Good. So now that we have this, we want to make sure that every time our game starts, that we also get our backdrop, right? So now I want you to go to the Looks tab and look for the block of code that shows you your backdrop. So now I'm going to go here and look for the block of code that says switch backdrop to light. So what we're doing right now is we're kind of showing us how to refresh our game. So when the green flag is clicked, we want to make sure our score is back to 0, and we want to make sure that our backdrop is switched back to light. I know you might be wondering, why do we need to change our backdrop if we already set the backdrop and there's no other backdrop? Just stay on with me, and I promise at the end, this will all make sense. Awesome. So now we're switching our backdrop to light, and we want to make sure that it always shows. So I'm going to attach the show block also in the Looks tab to my block of code. And now we're going to go ahead to set our loops. A loop in programming is something that makes something happen over and over again, right? It's like a big bag that holds a list of events that you want to happen over and over again. So yeah. So now we're going to go into our controls tab and select our forever loop because we want this to happen forever. And now we would go ahead and tell the ball to do a happy dance, to just go around. And in order to do that, we go up here to the motions tab, and we want to tell the ball to go to a random position every time that we click on it, or every time that we click on the green flag to start the game. Okay? And then we also want to apply some exciting effects, because if you remember from when we selected the ball, you know that a lot of colors are applied. We had different colors, the ball changed color. let's just make that happen here too. So our game is cool and not just boring or the same yellow all the time. So to do that, we're going to go back into our looks tray, and right here, it would change size by 10. And we also want to make sure to change the color. So I'm going to look for the block of code that says change color effect, and I will put that right above. Yes, so that the color and the size of our ball changes every time. If you want to test out all that we have done so far, all you have to do is click on the green flag. And as you can see, our ball is going crazy all over our screen. And this is definitely very fun. It looks like a disco light, but that's not what we want. So I'm just going to stop that right now. And then let's go on to fixing our code, right? So now let's head back to the orange tab, the control tab. And we need to make our ball take a break once in a while. So let's tell it to wait a little bit instead of dancing everywhere. So we're going to tell our ball to wait right here. Who can tell me where we're going to put this to make sure our ball behaves and listens? Does this go in the loop or outside the loop? Let me know what you think in the chat box. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right here, right below change size by 10. And what I will do here is 1 second is a bit slow. Can you see? It's taking too long. So let's stop that. And if you divide 1 second by half, like what is half of 1 second? That is 0.5 seconds. That's not too fast and not too slow. So if you see here, it's faster, but not too fast, right? Awesome. So of course, this isn't what we want. Our game is not exactly what we had planned, right? This isn't what I told you. The ball is bouncing, yes, but there's no way to keep score. Before we do that, let's go back to the size. Because as you can see, my ball just keeps going. It gets bigger and bigger, but it doesn't go back to the original size. And if we're not careful at this point, it's going to take over the entire screen, and that's not fun, right? So what I need us to do is go back to the looks tab right here. And then we're going to look for something that would help us fix the size. I wonder if you guys can find the block before I do. So this one right here that says set size to 100, I'm going to click, drag, and place it right below my wait 5 seconds. But so 100% is the actual size of the ball. We want the ball to go smaller and bigger. It's more fun when it rotates or goes from different size to different size. So what I'm going to do is reduce that 100% to 50%. And then because I want it to have various sizes, I would go on and go back to my control tab and tell it to wait another 0.5 seconds before it goes on. So 0.5 seconds. And then I would go back to my looks tab and set the size up again. And this time, I want it to change to 150. So it goes smaller and then it goes beyond the average size. So we go from being very small to being very big. That's exciting. That brings more action to the game, don't you think? So I'm going to change this to 150. Awesome. Okay, so we're almost there. Our game is almost making a lot of sense, right? So the next thing that we are going to do you need me to give you some time to catch up? Just check all of the code that I have. if you want your code to do exactly what mine is, if you want our executions to be the same, just make sure you have everything that I have from when the green flag is clicked to set size to 150. If you're trying to apply something different and it's maybe not working as you would like, let me know in the chat box and I'll be happy to take any questions to help guide you through what you want to do. Okay. So the next step would be to give it a condition, right? Remember how we talked about setting our score? Yes. How do we know if we won the game, right? How do we go about setting that score? So right here, if you go to, let's see. First, before we go to our before we tell it, let's go here first. Let's go to the controls tab, right? This is where we find our various loops and conditions. And so I want to give it a condition that says, if my score is to a certain point, I want my code to do something, right? So let's go right here and bring the if block into our workspace. And we're going to use the help of our operators tab to make this happen. So for this little space right here, what I'm going to tell my code to do is if my score, let's see, I'll drag this right here, the one that says blank equal 50. So I'll go ahead and put that right here. So if my score, so now go back to your variables and click on score, drag it and place it in the first bubble right here. So if my score equals, like I said in the beginning, I'm going to make this pretty easy for myself. So 10, because that's very attainable, right? Just for testing purposes. So if my score is equal to 10, now I want to put that in the same block as when my green flag is clicked, because I want all of this to execute after I click on my green flag. So if my score equals 10, I want something to happen. So what do I do when I reach my high score? When you're playing any game, do you guys remember what happens when you attain your high score? Yes, you get a celebratory screen that does, yay, congratulations, you've reached a high score. So now we're going to make that happen for ourselves. So right now, I want us to go into the backdrops tab, and then we are going to create a new backdrop for ourselves. So right here, where it says choose a backdrop, we're not choosing another backdrop. We're just gonna go up here to make one. Okay, so you see, now that give me a second. That was not part of the plan. I want to keep my old backdrop, but I also want to make sure that I have another one. Okay, cool. So what we are going to do is use this backdrop to create a new to create a celebratory screen, like I said. And to do that, we're gonna make some art. And what I want to do right now is to make a rectangle. I'm going to make mine pretty basic, but you guys are encouraged to have fun and just be more creative than I am. I'm kind of boring. Okay, let me choose a prettier color. see. Okay, I like this one. And now I'm going to put some text that says, congratulations. What happened? Where did all my text go? It's the same color. So I want to change the color of my text to maybe black. Awesome. Or should I do white? Let's stick to black just for this lesson. And now I'll make it bigger. Yay. And now I want more text. So I'm going to, you have reached the high score. Okay. And now, like I said, mine is pretty boring, but feel free to make yours as interesting as you want to, right? And another thing you can do is to choose a backdrop that, like this one that says party, right? So I'll just do the same thing that I did here, which is add some text. Congratulations. Awesome. Let's make this bigger. Cool. So now we know that our backdrop, we have two different types. We have one that's backdrop 2, and we have one that's party. So I think I'm going to stick to party. Okay, so now let's go back to our game and go back to the block that says code. I'll click on my ball. Awesome. So now if score is equal to 10, we want to make sure to change our backdrop. And look right here at the top. Remember how I told you it would all make sense in the end as to why I'm switching my backdrop in the beginning of the game when there was no other backdrop? I hope it's all come full circle right now and it makes sense. So now we go back here and switch backdrop. We want to switch our backdrop. And now I'm going to change that to party. See? That's awesome. It worked out, right? But how do we make that happen? Because our score isn't changing, right? And we want to make sure to hide it until we need it. So I'm going to click on hide and put it right here. So this is the condition that says if my score is equal to 10, then switch my backdrop to party. If not, just continue with the game and just stick to the same backdrop. Awesome. So now I'm sure you guys have a very burning question of we already set our score and we need everything else, but there's no way to click on the ball and make the score go up. I have a solution. And can anybody guess before I tell you, can anybody guess what my solution to making that happen is? Okay, so the first thing to do is go into the events tab, and when the sprite is clicked, and the sprite in this case, we have only one sprite, and that is our ball. When the sprite is clicked, we want something to happen. And so now we're going to go to our variables tab, and we wanted to change our score by 1. Make sure that this is a separate block of code on its own. As you can see right here, I just put it right next to all the amazing blocks that we already worked on from the start. See right now? So if I click on my ball, you can see Awesome. So let's refresh and start and see what happens when we actually play the game. Oops. Game. Remember how I said I'm not great at playing this game? See, let me make it full screen so you can see everything. Come on. I just need to get to 10. I just need to get to 10. Please, 10. Just one more. Just one more. One more. See, congratulations. I reached the high score. Awesome. I hope that you guys had as much fun as I did playing this game, right? Okay, so I'm going to hang around. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you're trying to execute something different from what I did, mine is pretty basic. I would like to encourage you guys to be as creative and as imaginative as you would want to. That's the purpose of Scratch. So for sure, let me know if you have any questions. I would leave this up so you can just compare mine to yours if you have any questions. But yes, so I would be paying close attention to the chat box. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you have something cool that you think I should try out, this is the time for it. Okay, it's been fun catching up with you guys today. Let me know what you think about this session. Let me know if this is your first time building a game on Scratch, and was it as fun or as challenging as you thought, or did you have a great time? Just one more. Come on. Why is my ball moving so fast? Yay! Why was that harder than usual for me? Awesome. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. So let me know if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns. Did you enjoy today's lesson? Let me know in the chat box. Other than that, that's all that I have for you today. I hope to see you in our next lesson. So if you had any questions, comments, or concerns, or anything else that you wanted to ask me after the end of the class, you can always reach me by sending me an email at hello@dewspace.org, and I would do my best to answer any question that you have. Okay, it's been fun building the ball bounce game with you guys today. I hope to see you next week in our next session. I wonder what game we're going to build in the next class. I wonder. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you later, okay? Bye.